My M26 girlfriend F22 of 4 years kissed a much older coworker that she has a crush on. My girlfriend and I have been dating for 4 years and few months. Love this girl to death and thought we would spend the rest of our lives together. Came home today to a written list of things that I've been doing that make her feel unfulfilled and lonely. She has mentioned these things in the past, the feelings. I've been distant recently because I've been down in the dumps about a back injury that prevented me from physical activity. I spin out of my healthy routine and slip into drinking weeknights, playing video games for hours on end and just not being emotionally there. I also neglected chores more often, which I had been pretty good about doing. She's reading off the paper and gets to the last point. She tells me to listen to her fully and not get angry, but that if I am angry and never want to see her again, she understands. Gut drops. I know how this goes. Her coworker M40s50s has been crushing on her, and she admitted she had a crush too, but it wasn't anything BC. They're coworkers and he's much older. Wrong. They had a pool day for their office and she stayed there all day, 12 p.m. 12 a.m. It was at the guy's house. Everyone left and it was just them two. She goes to leave and they stop at the door. He goes in for a kiss and she lets it happen. Not just lets it happen, leans into it and grabs his neck while he's grabbing her waist. No idea how long, but she eventually says that this is wrong and leaves to come home. I was at a trade show for work all day, so I'm asleep by then, but had been texting her while she was there. Hope you're having a good time. I love you. I'll see you at home. This happened June 25th and she told me today, July 5th, after we got back from a vacation in Denver. She didn't want to spoil the trip. She's claiming responsibility for it, but also blaming it on being drunk and high, as well as saying it was because I made her feel lonely and this guy gave her attention. We have a year left on our lease and 2 cats who are like children to me. I still love her. I want it to work out, but I also feel like maybe I can't trust her and maybe she truly wants out but doesn't have the guts to tell me. I'm lost and hurt, but this woman is my best friend. I don't know how to live without her. Update: we talked after work today. I went through her phone extensively looking for evidence and clues. She doesn't even have the guy's phone number. No, it's not listed as Domino's or Papa John's. I checked that 2 idiots. She has only ever IM'd with him through their work app or email. Clean there. Snapchat nothing. Looked through her old messages with her 2 best friends and she had explained it to them just as she explained it to me. Their conversations were innocent, no scheming, plotting, or evidence of lies. They were actually very geared towards fixing our relationship. I grilled her intensely about any details she may be leaving out and the story seems to be solid. Every time I've had her repeat the story, it's the same every time. No inconsistencies. One thing I misunderstood was the drinking and being high. The guy was drunk and high. She was much less drunk and not high. There were 4 people that stayed late: GF, Guy, and 2 other co-workers. When the 2 others went to leave, GF started packing her stuff up and headed to the door. Guy follows, goes for the kiss, she lets it happen. Still SIT, and not making excuses for it. It's still ducked up. She's very apologetic, upset, and crying. We've talked about communicating, therapy, plan of action moving forward, etc., in the hopes to try to mend these scars. She will cut off contact with him unless necessary for work, and she is also leaving for another job in about a month, so bye-bye geriatric. I feel better, she feels better. I do truly think we have a chance to make this work. She is a very understanding person as well as me. Call me a doormat, no spine, whatever. It was a damn kiss, and her attitude towards "I understand if you want to leave me" was not from a place of not caring but from a place of understanding the gravity of what she had done. As for my issues, yeah, I likely have undiagnosed depression and had it for a long time, but that's going to be worked on with a therapist. Running out of steam, not sure what else there is to say. Thank you everyone for the advice, getting dunked on multiple times, and the she's for the streets comments. We both laughed at those. Redditor's reactions. Story 2 after. Redditor 1, this woman is my best friend. Clearly, you're not hers. I don't know how to live without her. You'd better learn? Redditor 2, so you're saying that instead of her wanting to help you through your back injury, she rather write a list of things you're not doing that she's unhappy about. And when she gets unhappy, she decides to go around kissing coworkers. Hell no. Redditor follow-up, also, only coming out with this list right before she admits to cheating. Seems like she very obviously doesn't want to take responsibility for it. Redditor 3, mate, read your own post. Slowly. The flags are all there. It's not your fault. Her behavior is just going to escalate. Redditor follow-up, he is probably also being drip-fed information. Save yourself the pain. If you stick around, you will be filled with constant stress as you wonder about things you do not even want to know or have yet to happen. She also abandoned you when you were sick healing. The excuse she used to do it is the excuse a normal person would use to buckle down and show their love for you. That's all it is, an excuse to do what she already wanted. It will be hard, and I'm genuinely very sorry for you. Do not compare yourself. The older you get, the more you realize the act of cheating itself is what gets these people interested. It is not you. Don't compare yourself. In 20 years, look at the cheaters you know and realize they've cheated on almost every partner they've had. This is a bit of a tangent, but many young people here need to hear it. It'll get better eventually. It's an old man. Perhaps she has her own acid to work though, but it is not your problem. Story 2, me 46M with my wife 45M, married 26 years, reading an old diary led to a revelation. Yes, we were married very young and have 2 adult children who are out on their own. Typical HS, sweetheart, stuff here, each other's first, etc. I'll cut to the chase. When I was young, 22, I had an affair that lasted about 5 weeks. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done. I was a scumbag, I know it now, and I knew it then. Wife caught on, and I finally slapped sense into myself, broke things off, and spent the next 24 years of my life trying to make up for it. I would go through bouts of guilt and depression so bad that it would be crippling to me emotionally. I am not asking for sympathy for that. I deserved it and I know it. She of course at first was devastated, and I hurt her more than anything. I will even cry to this day about hurting her like that. The look on her face when I finally admitted to the affair is something I will take to the grave with me. For the first 5-7 years after the affair we were married and still loved each other, but she obviously guarded her heart. Believe me, I understand why, and there would be days where she would cry over something that would remind her of it. As the years went on, she didn't bring it up as much, but there wasn't a year go by where at least 2-3 times that it came across and she would be hurt by this. Some of it, by her own admission, was jealousy because I had been with someone else. Again, not once did I ever say anything about it other than to try and comfort her and apologize to her. At 20 years post the affair, she said she wanted to be done with it and embarked on nights of long, and I mean long, discussions trying to deal with things that we should have probably dealt with years ago. This led to lots of painful talks. She wanted details 20 years later, and the same thing over and over of why. I know that I ducked up, I know that what I did was unforgivable by most people, and I have always been so grateful that she forgave me. I honestly have done everything I can think of to be the husband she could be proud of and support her. We have had a good life together, and now that we are on our own we are kind of enjoying each other again like we haven't since we were both kids. This enjoyment has led to us re-exploring our youth and our dating time as teens. We have been looking at old photos of us and reading old love letters to each other. Yes, we are so old that we actually wrote letters on paper. We both kept journals as kids and we have been sharing them with each other. Hers are kind of silly and mine are downright embarrassing to read. However, this has led to a discovery. She has obviously forgotten that she wrote in that book well up into our marriage and past the affair. I don't know if I wasn't supposed to read this as she had given me the book to read a chapter of, but I didn't stop. I kind of skimmed over the book and found how unhappy she was right after we got married. How she really thought she made a mistake and found herself attracted to her old boss at work. Again, I don't fault her or even use that as justification for what I did. I skipped to after the affair and it was some heartbreaking stuff to read. I freely admit to sitting there bawling and racked with guilt again. I was feeling like Esther until I came to the part where I read that she acted upon her attraction to her boss, who was like 15 years older than her at the time. He was also married. In other words, one night after work she screwed him in his office. Now the next part was her writing about the shame of doing it, how bad she felt, whether or not she should confess to me, and ultimately that she quit the next day. She told me she got laid off. I put the journal down shaking. This was 22 or so years ago. She did it within 2 months of me admitting to my affair. I am now a conflicted mess. Part of me says I have no right to feel anything about this and that I should just move on and pretend like I never saw it. But there is a part of me that is so very hurt that she not only allowed me to suffer for years with guilt, but that she played the "I've only ever been with you" card, which made my depression even worse. I get that she felt guilty herself and she did not believe that I could have gotten over her being with someone else. I don't know what I'm looking for here. I feel betrayed, and not just in the fact she slept with another man who would be getting close to 60 now, but the fact that she let me wallow in this despair for over 20 years when in fact she has done something very similar herself and has not had to endure any ramifications other than whatever she has put on herself. Which I admitted probably bad if was anything like mine. But for whatever reason it feels uneven. Should I even talk about this with her, or should I just chalk this up as another thing I deserved? Update: it was on purpose. Me 46M with my wife 45M, married 26 years. Reading an old diary led to a revelation. First of all, thank all of you who read my first post and commented either here or via messaging me. It honestly meant a lot to me. My original post was taken down because they said that I didn't ask a question. I sent them a question about what I wrote asking for guidance but didn't get any reply from them. So I hope they don't pull this one as well. Anyway, as a couple of you suspected, she left it on purpose knowing what I would find and read it. When I got home from work she was sitting at the kitchen table with her journal in front of her. I was not at all sure what to say or do, so I just asked her how her day was. After a few pleasantries were exchanged, she came out and asked if I had read on in her journal after she left, and I admitted that I did. She asked me if I wanted to talk about it or anything else, and I told her that I wasn't sure what the right answer was. I felt like I wanted to talk, but that in the end I wasn't sure what I wanted to say, and that ultimately I did not want to cast aside the really truly great time that we have recently had together. She actually seemed very confused by my response and obviously thought that I didn't actually read everything. She asked me again if I read past when we had our difficulties, and I had to make a very split-second decision to either just pretend that I had no idea what she was talking about or come clean and risk once again having to dig all of this up. I said yes, I read everything. She started to tear up and ask me how I felt about it. I simply told her that obviously the news of her having time with her old employer certainly was unsettling for me, but that I didn't want to ruin what we have been building over it. She said she really needed to talk about it with me and asked if I would agree to talking about it. We spent all night from about 6:30 p.m. until 5:30 a.m. talking, crying, hugging, and then ultimately sleeping. Hey, we're old. I can't stay up all night and then go to work on no sleep like when I was younger. I emphasized from the very beginning that no matter what we said going forward, that I wanted to be clear that I am as committed today to her and us as I was from when we were young, and that I only wanted us to get stronger together. She agreed and we went forward. At first I was apprehensive about trying to express feeling like I upset about her not telling me, but the longer we talked the more bold I guess I got. To spare you the length of this that I could go on and on about, basically our conversation highlights are as follows. I said that mostly my issue is that she allowed me to beat myself up for 2 decades, not only for cheating but for mistakenly believing that I had experienced something she had not. I said that I absolutely understood her reasoning for wanting to get even with me. I even said that what I did was far worse, and that by no means was I comparing the two, but I felt like hiding this from me for over 20 years, and allowing me to even make statements regarding her not ever being with anyone made me feel really bad. I don't even know how I feel about it, but I just know it hurts. Her reply to this was that she was deeply ashamed both for doing it and for being a hypocrite about it. She did remind me though that not once did she ever say anything about her not being with anyone else other than right after my cheating. She is right on that fact, she didn't. However, she never corrected me when I said it, and I said it plenty. She admitted that was wrong. I also had to admit that yes, even though it happened a lifetime ago and in the end, did not mean anything to anyone, that ultimately I was not having some jealousy and anxiety issues over her having been with someone else. Also, I said that part of my problem was that in reading her journal she was very attracted to him prior to me even cheating, so she didn't go have a one-night stand with some random man. She willingly had time with someone who she had developed feelings for. Again, I know I shouldn't have said that, but she drug it out of me. She asked me if I wanted to ask her anything about it. She said it was only fair because she demanded all of the details when I was confessing to everything. I said I had a few questions and she willingly and I believe honestly answered them. Basically she initiated it with him, and yes, it was simply because she felt that our marriage was a sham and she was angry. She just said that being angry at first was a turn on, but immediately afterwards she regretted it. It didn't make her feel better, in fact it made her feel far worse. She said she couldn't even go back in the next day to face him. She felt guilty for cheating herself, and she said she even felt more guilty because he was married with a little kid of his own, so she felt like she made him be a cheater as well. I asked her if she ever had any feelings for him, and she admitted that while working with him and being attracted to him she did develop what she called a crush, but that it all died the moment they had time. She said, as illogical as it sounded, she actually loathed him afterwards. Now I have no idea if that part was for my benefit or if it was real. I didn't bother to ask. Also, I didn't ask about the time. I mean, like, what was I going to expect her to say? No matter what, it was going to suck, so just best to let it go. Also, she said on her own she knew that if I thought she had been with someone else I would view her differently, and she did not want that. I feel a little off-put by that confession, but I also understand that sometimes men are idiots and guys my age tended to view things differently when we were younger. So while I hate it, I also understand it and will not hold it against her. as I thought in her own way she was trying to protect me. Believe me, there was a ton more, but that was the main focus. She broke down several times and asked if I thought she was a W or. I think I scored points when I said not only did I not think she was a W or, I saw her as the mother to my children and the love of my life. She cried harder at that than at anything else. I'm not sure if it was from being upset, or emotional, or both. I asked her about doing marriage counseling and she thought it was a great idea. She is very much into planning out life's events and matters, so after this was over she immediately went to work researching area counselors. Today she told me we have our first appointment in 2 weeks. Also, I wanted to clear up a couple of things from my last post. Several have asked and I was probably a little too vague, so here it is. No, I didn't get caught red-handed, however my wife became suspicious and my guilt was getting to me, so I broke off with the other girl and then confessed everything to my wife. So you can view it either as I confessed or she caught me, and both would be partially right and partially wrong. Also, for the record, our beginning married life was not easy. I intentionally left out this little nugget: we had our first child already and we were living in poverty. She resented me and our marriage at the time, confirmed this BTW in her journal she wrote back then, and I just gave up. I am not excusing my actions, BTW, I am just saying that someone said I cheated in a perfectly happy marriage and that's not 100% accurate. No matter what, I love her, I have always loved her and I will love her until the day I die. She is the mother of my children and the future grandmother to our soon-to-be-born grandbaby. Damn, that sounds old typing that out. We are only going to get better. Thank you everybody. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, the things that you felt bad about saying or saying that you think that you shouldn't have said absolutely needed to be said. So don't feel bad about that. I think that there is a lot more that needs to come out between you two, namely the things that you were put off by that she said and all of your feelings over this whole revelation. I'm very glad that she agreed to go to counseling with you, as it will help with all of that. I wish the best for you both. Op answer, thank you, we both are actually looking forward to it. We've had a really good evening. Just watch Kobe drop 60 points, damn. I was 26 when he came in the league, this is just unreal. Anyway, thank you again, and yes, I agree, we still have a lot to work out. Redditor 2, I'm glad you're both going to marriage counseling, and I hope everything works out for the best. Op answer, thank you for your support. I honestly believe we will be fine. If I died today, I have led a happy life, some bad sure, but who hasn't, and I want to grow older with her. Redditor 3, her justifications for not telling you remain total horseshit. Well, technically I never said I didn't cheat, and I didn't want you to think of me differently. Puke. Just, lol. That does not even come close to justifying the borderline emotional abuse she put you through for 20 years. Good luck with your marriage. Redditor follow-up, yeah. I mean, I'm glad they are going to counseling to work it out, but it. In the original post, he said he broke down on a monthly basis over this, beating himself up, her bringing it up in some way. That means, over 20 years, there were over 200 times that this was brought up, and she didn't say anything. Just seems like, wow, so much to get over. But yeah, good luck op. Redditor 4, I'm happy for you, and I'm glad she recognized how hypocritical she was being by letting you beat yourself up. Moving forward, don't forget that you're entitled to be hurt by this revelation. It sounds like things quickly shifted back to how bad she felt, how terrible the guilt was, etc., and it's important not to let that drown out your own feelings. Op answer, thank you. I honestly know she was terrified to tell me this. It may have been late coming, but honestly she was brave to let me know. She easily could have kept that secret for life. I feel empowered enough to know that I have a right to talk about this with her and let her know that I feel like she should have helped me out years ago when she knew how depressed I was over this. I mean, she tried in her own way, but I think it would have helped my guilt a little if I'd have known I wasn't the only one.